you think is the final thing for the Conservative Party, the concrete party?
It's difficult, really. I think it all comes down to what happens at the Conservative Party conference. I think Sunak has got to go out and he's got to perform. And I think he's got to say to the Conservative Party, we are either ready or not ready for a general election. And this is either going to be the last conference before a general election, or if they really want to eke it out, there will be another conference before the next general election. Depends how far they want to try and push it. But to be honest, it entirely depends on the Conservative MPs. If they feel that they've had enough, that they really cannot take it anymore, that they know they're going to lose, that there's no turning this ship around, then they'll go for it. And I think they'll try anything they can to try and win, especially the Red Wall MPs. I mean, I'll tell you now, come election morning, oh my word. Oh, the articles that are going to be written by those Red Wall MPs blaming Rishi Sunak and everybody else for their defeat. The copium is going to be unbelievable. So if I die like a week after the general election, it's because I've had an overdose of copium and I just couldn't take it anymore.
The thing is, no one will care about those. It'll be the MPs remaining that they need to worry about.
Oh, yeah.
Because they'll suddenly have no power. They're back to being MPs that can't win. I'll tell you what is interesting. So Redfield and Wilton's polling this week. So in the Red Wall, it has Labour leading on all 15 of their issues, which includes asylum. So the Conservatives are pushing asylum like nothing else. They're using up all their bandwidth on it. Because remember, you can't, I say this about Labour, because you don't usually have to say about the Conservatives. They're usually aware of this. You can't just garble everything out. You have to focus on key messages that are going to resonate with the key voters who will, you have to know your audience. So when you're talking to the mainstream media, you're thinking of certain key voters. And they've just been creating noise around asylum. And the only place it works is the Red Wall. And it's not doing, because there's either not enough people there, or there's the people are not going to vote for incompetence, so they'll either vote for the craziness of Reform UK or the realistic competence of Labour. But on asylum, and they've got a fairly hefty lead. Where was it again? Let me find it. Specifically,
that's according to the stats. That's the hot topic, basically.
Yeah, I have to say it is actually immigration rather than specifically asylum. But given that the Tories have ramped up asylum, you'd think it's like the most important issue with this immigration. Labour have a +8% lead. Their smallest lead is +5%, and that's on Ukraine, where Labour are basically going, we're not that different to the Tories. That's the one thing where they're basically saying we're not that different to them. We're sort of supporting them on it.
But you're not going to win. You're not going to win an election
on that. Yeah.
So it's utterly so, and Labour still have a 5-point lead on that, and that's balmy. That's like people going, okay, they're saying the same. That is basically people saying you're not distinguishing yourself on it, but I believe Labour will be more competent. That's can be the only explanation, surely.
Well, Grant Shapps is now in charge of that. So
oh yeah,
he great things.
I mean, here's the thing, right? He drops a couple of clangers. One of them I don't blame him for. He was asked, as you would be, because he's shown no interest in defence, how many ranks in the army? I don't think you need to know that as a defence minister. But I'll tell you what, when he was talking about how delighted the RAF were with their aircraft carriers, it's like, you actually don't know anything, do you?
He needs to hire a few consultants, maybe like Michael Green.
He needs to not talk. He has access to advice. He needs to not say anything until he's briefed, but he's far too lazy. He's like so many others. He's lazy. And he thinks because he can turn on the charm that he'll just get through it. But he's just... The only reason he hasn't been ridiculed more is because, Rishi Sunak has made an even bigger balls of this week.
What do you think, Max? Do you think the schools issue is the final nail in the coffin?
I think it depends on how long it goes on for. So and I don't see it improving anytime soon, because you're going to hear about more and more schools. And it's not just schools, it's also other public buildings like courts. There's even residential properties that could be affected as well. So this is going to go on, and they're not planning to fix it. So it's not like they could. I think they could resolve the problem by saying, okay, we have this money set aside. We're going to invest it straight away. We're going to rebuild these schools. We're going to throw everything at it. But they don't seem to be interested. And I think it was Gillian Keegan who said to Byline, she said, well, or she was covered by Byline. She said something like, well, let's just do nothing for the next 2 years and let somebody else deal with it.
Yes.
We just need to keep the lid on this for 2 years, and then it's someone else's problem.
That is what they're doing. There's no plan. Like, their plan is just to carry on building at the current rate, which is what's created this problem, because it's not enough. It's not a high enough rate.
Well, that in itself was a huge issue, because it was on the BBC that they managed to get the private secretary on with Nick Robinson to talk about what the actual situation was. And he said, originally we said 400, then it was slashed to 200, then it was slashed to 100. And when I left, I found out it was down to 50. Sky News then broke and said, well, Rishi made that promise, shows a clip of Rishi making the promise. We're going to put in 50 a year, blah, blah, blah. And Sky then immediately comes out that day and says,
now that equates to about 50 schools a year that will be refurbished or rebuilt.
I revealed in the last hour that Rishi Sunak said 50 schools a year would be rebuilt under his programme, which began 2 years ago. How many have been completed? Just 4.
This is classic Tory. This is what has happened since David Cameron came into office. It's, you have a problem. We need X amount to fix this problem. We don't really either want to fix this problem, or we'll rather give you less money. The Levelling Up white paper, if you remember that. The first 2 chapters were like, levelling up, we're going to do it. We need this amount of money to all do it. And then you come to the actual treasury section of what the money they're going to spend, and it's not even close.
It's quite funny with Michael Gove, if it's a tragic, because he's like pretty much the only competent member of cabinet, and his job for the past few years has been to come up with regeneration plans, and he does it, and then whichever monkey's in charge at the time goes, yeah, we're not doing that, it costs money.
I mean, you've done some amazing wordplay there, because I mean, does anyone remember that genetics document that Cummings came out with that was given over to Gove, suggesting that genetics was more important than teaching?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dominic Cummings could be topical today as well, because we've, as well as Horizon, we've just entered the Copernicus program, which is a satellite program. Do you remember Boris Johnson giving Dominic Cummings $500 million to buy out a bankrupt satellite company that specialised in the wrong type of satellites for the purpose? And somehow that was going to get us the right type of satellites. There's this company that couldn't make a living, that couldn't make a profit from building the satellites it's good at, but apparently it'll give us a source of cheap, suitable satellites for which they have no expertise that'll rival Europe's.
And it launches from Russia, doesn't it?
Well, it doesn't do anything because obviously it was money completely wasted.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything. We're now back in Copernicus.
That's our Dom.
We are now going to be joining Copernicus again and doing it properly.
So that was a complete... I mean,
how long before the UK rejoins Erasmus?
That'll be Labour. The Tories have no interest in that because that's helping young people. I agree with David Hennig. What the Tories will be wanting they'll want a deal on extending the grace periods on rules of origin for electric cars, because that is imminent. And they don't get an economic boost if they get it, but they get an economic hit if they don't. And that's happening at the end of this year. So unless they want that general election right now, they can't afford that. So he'll push for that very strongly. But Erasmus, it's like, so you think about it, like there's Tory MPs, hard Brexit Tory MPs are whining in the media and the party, are whining. Well, obviously it has to be in the party if they're MPs, but Tory, should we say. They're whining about this, the rejoining Horizon, saying it's all crap and all the rest of it. So Rishi Sunak, to get this, has had to fight a bit of a battle. He's obviously got enough MPs to go, well, we get economic benefits from this. Whereas Erasmus, they won't see that. It's basically pulling out of Erasmus was cultural vandalism not so much. I mean, I don't know how much it affects the economy, but it's more cultural. But so he will be able to expend political capital for an economic boost. And it has to be an economic boost before the election, or in this case, I'd say not a boost, but at least not a loss.